This past week, I personally had the opportunity to interview Associate Weapon Designer at Bungie, Mercules, on weapon balancing in Destiny 2. Within that interview, I got to sneak my own question in specifically about the upcoming changes to fusion rifles, and we've got a ton of info to break down with details on buffs and nerfs coming to the zoom stat, along with the nerf to under pressure that we've anticipated for quite some time. Today I'm not just explaining what the changes mean, but I'm also going to tell you which specific fusions we can expect to feel better and which we can expect to feel worse. First off, I gotta say, I can't believe I got to host this. While this video is a breakdown of just one question from that interview, the full thing is 2 hours long, so you can imagine how much information we got packed into it. It was very awesome to be a part of, and if you're interested in checking out the full thing, it's the final episode of Destiny Massive Breakdowns podcast, in which we got to talk to the original host of the show, Kit Kutcha and Mercules, who now both work at Bungie. I recommend for the full thing, but right now, let's talk fusions. Quickly listed, here's what we know is happening in Season 22. 1. Zoom is being decoupled from damage fall-off distance. That's something we already knew from a previous developer insight post on Bungie.net, but breaking news with this interview reveals that 2. The other benefits of Zoom are getting buffed for fusion specifically. 3. All fusion rifles are getting a small damage fall-off distance nerf. 4. Under pressure is getting a nerf. And 5, Kickstart is getting a nerf, and that's potentially 2 seasons from now, so I won't talk about that one much. Okay, let's break all that down because there's a mix of buffs and nerfs here, and it can be difficult to see exactly what the end result is. First, Zoom being decoupled from damage fall-off distance, a nerf to both rangefinder and anything above the standard 15 Zoom. If it's a standard 15 Zoom fusion rifle, this shouldn't affect it at all. It's very important to remember here that Zoom will still provide aim assist fall-off distance, stability, and accuracy. So if you do have a high Zoom or rangefinder fusion, you'll still get those benefits from high Zoom. Okay, the second thing, Fusion Zoom is being unleashed and will no longer have a custom tuning Zoom handicap. So that's right, as we've talked about on this channel frequently, Bungie has now officially confirmed Fusion Zoom has been handicapped in the past. And it's why if you've watched any video on this channel where I've talked about rangefinder and Fusion Zoom, you know that rangefinder has been bypassing this custom tuning handicap and is why the perk has been absolutely cracked on fusion rifles for so long. So having this Zoom handicap removed from the Zoom stat is a huge buff to all fusions. Not to what you usually think of, the damage distance, because as we said in the first change coming, Zoom won't change that anymore, but all the things we mentioned that come with Zoom will be buffed. Aim assist fall-off distance, stability, and accuracy. This buff should make even standard 15 Zoom fusions feel better. Now on to the third change we learned from the interview. All fusions are getting a small damage fall-off distance nerf. This is on top of the damage fall-off distance nerf to Zoom, so this one will even affect fusions with the standard 15 Zoom. Merc specifically mentioned this is a small nerf, but also said that the team does believe fusions to be operating a bit hot, and that this was a response to that and the buff to Fusion Zoom benefits. For that reason, I expect standard 15 Zoom fusions like Iterative Loop and Burden of Guilt to do full damage close to what they currently do. But combine this nerf with a high Zoom fusion or a fusion with rangefinder, and you're looking at a massive nerf to range. I expect Tachyon Force, Epicurean, Main Ingredient, Pressurized Precision, Timelines Vertex, and even Plug 1 and Cartesian Coordinate to get their range pulled in quite a bit. They'll feel easier to use, but won't hit as far. That said, all fusions that don't rely on rangefinder or Zoom should feel good. They should feel even more consistent at base than they do now. Now, I say more consistent at base for a reason because of the fourth change. Under pressure getting nerfed. Now, I don't think it's gonna kill the perk. I'm guessing it will take away some of the free stability. It's just free accuracy, and Bungie wants to change that so we don't just automatically go for the perk every time. Nerfing this is part of the reason they can bump up the accuracy benefits of Zoom on fusions as well. Now this is huge because what go-to fusion rifle do you use that doesn't have under pressure? Nearly everyone's favorites has it and usually needs it. Cartesian Coordinate, Tachyon Force, Zealot's Reward, Iterative Loop, Main Ingredient, Iota de Cronus, Plug 1, it's so rare that we don't have under pressure on a god roll. Okay, so knowing these 4 changes, I'm not even going to go into Kickstart because we don't have the details. But these 4, which fusion rifles are the ones that will feel buffed and which ones are going to feel nerfed? For ones that will feel buffed, I'm looking for 2 things specifically. 1, it doesn't rely on under pressure, and 2, it has low zoom. Immediately, I'm looking at Burden of Guilt, Mida's Reckoning, and Pressurized Precision. Burden of Guilt, before this change, was already my number 2 fusion rifle in the game, and it's got only 15 zoom and doesn't have access to under pressure. On top of that, my favorite one has Killing Wind on it, which is one of the only fusion rifle perks that will actually still extend your damage fall off range. Mida's Reckoning has only 15 zoom, and my go-to role is the incredible backup plan and successful warm-up combo. So with change number 2, Fusion Zoom Unleashed, it's going to feel even more consistent than it did before. Pressurized Precision is kinda the maybe on the list because I do prefer Rangefinder on it, but Discord is the key for me on this fusion as it gives a massive accuracy boost just like Under Pressure, which makes it a pretty good replacement for the perk that you can count on. Plus, settling for high impact reserves and Discord in case Rangefinder doesn't feel good is a pretty awesome second role. Keep an eye out on Likely Suspect 2. It's not up there in favorites right now, but Rapids just got a buff. Now Likely Suspect's 15 zoom gets a buff on top of that. There could be something there. There's another group of fusions we should look at as well. The high zoom fusions aren't getting a complete nerf. Remember, other zoom benefits are unleashed now. So while high zoom fusions won't one-shot as far, they will feel even more accurate than before if they didn't rely on under pressure. So the second fusion buff criteria is which fusions have high zoom and don't rely on under pressure. I'm immediately thinking Epicurean with Rangefinder, Timeline's Vertex with its 21 zoom, Deliverance with its 16 zoom and potentially 100 range, and even Null Composure. I hate to say it, but I've also got to include a 17 zoom main ingredient with Firmly Planted and Rangefinder. Like I said, none of them are going to one-shot near as far as they used to, but they're going to get a hefty accuracy, aim assist, and stability bump. So I think you might run into scenarios where you're connecting shots that you can't even one burst, but all the bolts will still be hitting. So these fusions could feel really solid even if they don't give you the range they used to. So in summary, zoom damage range nerf, zoom aim assist accuracy and stability buff, overall damage range toned down for every fusion, and under pressure not as much of a must-have perk anymore. Keep an eye on fusions that already feel good with low zoom or without under pressure. They're going to rise up. Also watch that range stat. It will be your new determining factor for damage distance. It's never been that way before. So things that can max their range like Deliverance, Wise and Rebuke, Glacioclasm, and Plug 1 are going to have a lot of potential. In my eyes, this is the biggest fusion rifle change since Forsaken, not in terms of how crazy fusions are, but in terms of what makes a fusion rifle good. Many of the go-to things we look for on a fusion rifle won't be as necessary anymore, and I hope I've helped you figure out what to have ready for next season. We break down information like this all the time on this channel. If you enjoyed it, be sure to let me know in the comments or hit a like and subscribe. I've also got memberships available if you'd like to support the channel and comment with some amazing emotes made by the one and only JoJo. I've never had a way to support the channel directly before, and now you can. I appreciate you all. Until next time, GG.